Let's chat. It's hard. You want to talk? I know, that's disappointing. Sit back. Let's work this out. How's it going? What are we doing here? Where are you going? Hey there. Wow. It's not always easy. It's amazing if you think about it. Let's think about this. Strange. I have some thoughts about that. Life is hard. Trauma bonded.
I'm sorry for my voice. I was sick this week, and she's munching on a halls.
I'm munching on a halls because we're trying to make the sound good. So now we're basically about a centimeter away from each other. We're practically lips to lips.
We could start making out in any second.
Any second. It just feels natural. It's very awkward, actually.
Good thing we're not drinking anymore.
Oh, then it'd be makeout sit.
All these past 20 years being wasted together. Not one makeout session. Can you believe it?
I'm too sober to go there right now. I mean, I rarely talk anyway. There's no reason for me to it was close.
Welcome to Trauma Bonded. I'm Elly Westberg, here with Therese Garcia.
Hello.
Today we're discussing episode 347 of the podcast. This is actually happening. What if you were captive in plain sight? A brief. Naj comes up extremely close to her mother, and her father seems a bit checked out. She comes from Native American heritage and counts the epigenetics of their trauma and suffering as hers. She has a savior complex and experiences abuse from an uncle to school to romantic partners, and goes to school/university to become a mental health professional. She has 4 sons, and at 39 moves to Hawaii to live happily ever after. It is there she meets an older man who grooms her and eventually traps her. She spends 4 months of her life under his control in constant fear and with constant assault. She finally escapes and now has to rebuild her life with this dark period in her past. She has to reckon what this means to her as a woman, wife, sister, mother, and as a mental health professional. How could this happen to her? And how can she heal from it? She now uses this painful past to help others. And full disclosure, I'm the showrunner for This Is Actually Happening, and T doesn't work on this show, but she's still a wonderful person, but she does come in fresh. And this show, Trauma/Bonded, is for the listeners, a space where we can talk about each episode, digest it, and reflect on it with empathy and also a bit of levity. That's Trauma Bonded. What stuck out to you is the heart of Naj's story.
Why don't we start with you today? We always start with me.
No.
Oh, okay. So I went with one word for my heart this time, and that word is stripped. I think she is stripped of power, for sure. There's the literal, she's stripped physically, but she's also stripped physically of control over her body. And also with the old man, she's stripped of her ability to defend herself, right? Leaving her voiceless. She can't remember anything, right? She's stripped of trust. This wasn't the first time. She's lost trust. Trust is broken for her.
Not the first time of what?
Oh, physical abuse. That trust is broken, She loves someone, she thinks they won't hurt her. And this one, she really trusted him. And he betrayed her and broke that trust. And every time this happens, it just chips away her ability to trust. And there's that theme of being stripped of identity. It goes all the way back to her grandfather even, them trying to strip his identity in boarding schools, right?
Oh, yeah.
Thinking about her being a therapist and, she's an accomplished therapist. She went through all this schooling and now she's doing the opposite of what she's telling her patients to do, right? She's stripped by shame, and she says it herself that shame really locks people up tight. She can't even tell anybody about it. But then there's also that idea of being stripped and stripped as renewal. So when you think about like peeling away the layers and peeling away the bad, peeling away the shame, and you start to reveal your core, your authentic self, and then bringing back that empathy.
Mm,
So that's why I chose stripped as my heart of the story today, Ellie.
very good. As wonderful as humans are, we do a fair amount of this, like, as humans. I'm not saying you and I in particular or our listeners, but it feels like a lot of history proves that humanity loves to strip people of lots of things all the time. Their humanity, their culture,
Mhm.
their pride, their power, their agency.
Nowadays, even.
Yeah, that
Yeah.
that is what humans do to
Yeah.
other humans. Is we strip them down either to control them or to make
Mhm.
them into something we think they should be. It's like this new person enters the world and then it's like, "All right, good luck, fuck you." Fuck the poor kids that don't even, like, have a happy, healthy home, like, fuck those kids. Like, they're stripped of everything from day one, but other kids maybe that are, in a safe household, and then you send them out into the world, like, right away, all kinds of institutions and groups and ideologies just wanna strip them down to make them palatable, easily sociable, manageable, controllable, and they take away everything that you are. I hate
Everything that makes you unique.
Yeah. Yeah.
Turn you into a robot.
They want you to conform.
Yeah. Well,
Mm,
fuck that.
fuck that.
Not gonna do that.
The heart of the story for me is something around, like, the hair club for men. Do you remember the ad for the hair
Oh,
club for men?
oh yeah. He's not just the president. He's also a member.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Depending on your profession, there are these intersections where there's this high expectation, like, based on the knowledge that you've gleaned through your studies and what you do professionally, that you should be able to apply those principles to yourself.
Yeah.
And when you think about a therapist or anyone, like a doctor, a nurse, we have these high expectations for them, that they've got their shit all
Yeah.
together, and I was thinking about culturally, therapy is a relatively new concept. I mean, in our lifetimes, we've seen mental health issues go from like highly stigmatized to almost, trauma offs. Like, who's got the most trauma? It's taken a big shift. When we were growing up, the media idea of a therapist or a psychologist, a psychoanalyst, they were kind of reduced to a shrink, and it was sort of just for the elite among us that could afford to talk to tell their problems to a professional, and it was kind of poo-pooed as like a bourgeois exercise. And I think the joke, and I remember this kind of being a joke in 6 Feet Under, this idea that psychologists are the craziest among us, and it's just this funny thing. But when we really stand back and look at it, we do have a high expectations for people that have degrees in these areas. So I say all that to say it will fuck with you professionally and how you perceive yourself professionally if you have learned these tools, these ways to judge behavior, these ways to move around the world, and you're not able to apply them to your own life. But also, it adds to the shame because now you have to go out in the world and try to find healing, and people are looking at you like, "Why do you need healing? You learned all this, you know all this, you have this degree and that study and this work experience." So I think that's what's particularly interesting about this episode to me is, and I think Naj would agree, that this is especially dark and deep and heavy and hard to accept because it's a deeply she didn't get like a certificate and a weekend retreat. Like, she's had years and years and years of schooling, and the expectation is that she's not allowed to face anything like this, and I'm not victim blaming, I'm not saying what she fell into was her own fault, but I think this is what kept her from seeking healing for so long or seeking help to escape because she was so embarrassed to admit that she missed red flags or she ignored signs or she leaned on pills and drinking too much to be able to leave this person when she knew it was volatile and dangerous. Hence, the heart of the episode is the hair club for men. Not only
Just as bald as all of us.
I'm just saying it wouldn't look good for the commercial if the guy was bald. You know, just like you go to a hospital and you can't believe you're walking past, like, nurses and doctors smoking cigs or, like, eating donuts in the break room. Because even though
Yeah.
we know things, we learn things in our professions, and they naturally come out of us or they help guide our lives in some way, we're still fallible, we're still humans, we're still afflicted by our own neuroses and our own past traumas and hurts. And we might not even know that we have them until we're put in the right situation and they start to show themselves. What did you think about this episode overall?
I thought it was pretty fascinating because of that she is a therapist and that, yeah, there's this feeling that like, you're not supposed to be having these issues, right? And I don't actually think that at all. But that's the like thinking that because you have all of these degrees and all of this experience as a therapist, that you wouldn't be having these issues at all, right? But I'm also fascinated, sorry, by the actual situation in Hawaii that happened. Made me very angry and frustrated.
Well, and it kind of demonstrates how well this guy does this, that he could see a vulnerability in
Yeah.
her, even knowing everything about her professional life,
Yeah.
and still
Yeah.
could see whatever was damaged or yearning or slightly codependent or isolated or lonely. He was able to see that in her and pick at it and
Yeah.
use her. Let's talk about some ideas. The first idea that really stuck out to me, I mean, obviously, like her Native American heritage is important and it comes in later. And we have talked before on the show about the schools that tribal kids were pushed into and they're stripped of their Native American heritage. But the first thing that really jumped out to me is something that was interesting to talk about was the dad going to spin dry. Like you hear the term dry out from alcohol.
Oh.
Y
Yes.
you think about these logging communities, these logging towns, mining towns, they'll set up a town for a time to basically strip the place of its minerals or its valuables, and they bring in workers, and guess what? They just funnel them from work right into the bar. You have a long day at work, you go right to the bar. This is I mean, I feel like this is the sin that we perpetuated on workers forever since the beginning of time. You know, we have been doing dry January, so I think we're starting to get excited for February, just
Oh, me too. When I said,
but I think it's given us time to really reflect and examine about the role of alcohol in our lives. And I, for one, have been thinking about the way that, I don't know, big alcohol sort of moves and operates in the world. It's this accepted poison that everyone gets into. It's not shown well enough, but at some point, you build up these patterns in your 20s and 30s, like, we go out, we drink, we meet at the bar, we have cocktail, that's the way you live, and then at some point, it doesn't behoove you anymore, and this is where this fork in the road comes in, because you get to a certain age, you're like, "Okay, I gotta get this under control, or it's gonna kill me." Right?
mhm.
I mean, anyone that has any real affinity for booze can attest to that. You have to get it, you have to rein it in, or it will kill you. And I think now we talk about it and people are more sober curious and there's more information available to people and people are choosing really for the first time to get it under control early because of information, thank God. But you think back to these times, 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, the Industrial Revolution in America, these people were the workers' bodies were abused all day long, and then they were sent to a bar to cope with it. And it was just this constant cycle every day, all day. And then you hear about getting dried out, these thin, dry instances, and they used to do terrible things, including lobotomies and electromagnetic therapy, which has traditionally been shown to be really damaging. I think there is sometimes there can be a benefit from it. Anyway, like the electroshock therapy that people talk about. Anyway, that's a total like sidebar about the alcohol bit. Really, I just wanted to brag that I haven't had anything to drink in 25 days.
26, 25 maybe, 25.
I fucked up
Technically.
and drank on January 2nd.
Oh, you did?
Yeah.
Why? You forgot?
I don't know. I just wanted to.
Oh. Oh.
Wow, T's so disappointed in me.
How's that?
I just figured I'd add a day onto my sentence for it. Because I was sober January 1 and then
Hmm.
drank January 2nd, and then I haven't since
Oh.
then. Anyway, and both of our blood pressures are normal, just saying.
Ideal.
You guys
That's
seriously
actually normal, and better than that is ideal.
green? You like
It's like
green?
greener than green.
Yeah. Honestly, you got sidebar, y'all. If you were thinking about taking a break from drinking, do it. In 6 days, my blood pressure was normal, and T just took hers
On the
the
25th day,
25th
and it
day,
was on ideal.
and she's ideal.
That's
So,
crazy.
if to me, that's data that demonstrates, 1, that alcohol can fuck with your body,
Yeah.
and 2, that your body wants to reset itself if you give
Yeah.
it the chance to.
Yeah.
Amazing. Miracles.
I know.
Our bodies are crazy. So fragile and so powerful at the same
Oh,
time.
yeah. And
Wow.
it took like a couple of weeks.
Yeah. Okay, what's the next thing you wanted to talk about?
We could go to this part where she goes to visit with her cousin or
Her uncle?
her uncle.
Or she calls her uncle?
Well, it seems that this is one of the first times that, it's somebody that she trusts that really, takes advantage of that trust. And the way that she remembers it, or that she talks about it, is that, oh, he just plays with the seam of her underwear, and then she just like punches him, runs off, ha ha, to her mom. But it's interesting the way she talks about it, that it's most likely, and yes, was more than that. And she was most likely molested, we're all assuming. And this next part is just the way that she words it. I had to like listen to it a couple times. Did you have to listen to this a few times?
What were you gonna say?
It was just, I couldn't really understand it all that much. And I had to like almost write it verbatim. She was like doing something with her therapist, talking about how, how internal family systems work, and how there's like different parts of you that develop when you have a connection that's affected, that's broken or damaged. But she has an exile, she called it,
Yeah.
that sits down in the corner.
Yes.
Did you understand that part?
I do understand it because I have more context.
Could you share? Because I'm assuming she talked with her therapist and she had to do an exercise. Could you? Yeah.
Yes. Good catch on that, T.
Yeah.
And I don't know if I'm gonna get this right exactly. And you'll be able to go to this is the Actually Happening Instagram page. It'll be up today. Will be pictures of some of the journals that she's written, journal pages that she's written that kind of demonstrate sort of work that she was doing on herself. And she refers to these different characters in her past, and she calls them like her firefighters and her protectors. And exile is her, or it's a version of her
Yeah.
that she's referring to.
Or
Yeah. Yeah.
somebody
Um
that's been
it's
damaged or hurt or
it's a to be honest, it's a little bit confusing, but let me show you.
like an exile seems like a negative thing.
They're all work that she's done with her own therapist with the internal family systems model. When she was on the island, she was writing a book, which was a big part of how she was able to escape her thoughts and what was happening and pretend that she was there of her own accord. So her therapist and her started to rewrite some of those chapters with accuracy. So she thinks of these different parts of her as protector parts. And I think that what she means by that is like the way that our body develops defenses once it's been harmed. And then she talks about how we kind of put everything through those filters then. And she has protector parts that are both manager and firefighter type. And so you can see in one of these pictures the drawn protector parts. According to Naj, this is what the protectors look like to me when I first learned about them. My wounded inner child, she called exile, can be seen in the bottom left corner of the page.
Oh,
Um,
so it is like a hurt.
what she
Yeah,
called her inner child.
that's sad.
Yeah. Let me show it to you.
Oh,
Here.
oh yeah. Oh wow.
Yeah, it's you can see it, y'all. It's the third sort of journal-looking page. It's got this little girl sort of facing the corner of the page, and above it, she's written "shh" with exclamation points, and that's her telling herself that she's got a secret to keep. She thinks that it's from, what might have happened to her with her uncle.
Oh my God.
Yeah. Yeah, it's fucked. But the way she describes the memory is so visceral. There's something really really easy to imagine when she says, "He touches the seam of my underwear, and I sock him in the gut." Like, that's a very visual scene.
It like the way she describes it like feels almost playful, and then like she just goes to her mom, but then it's just so dark
Yeah.
and sad.
Well, when you're a kid, you don't understand, so
Yeah,
your brain makes up a way to remember it, but take out the tragedy of it.
yeah.
So she's totally slut-shamed as a teenager, and she doesn't even know what sex is, and just kids are terrible. It reminded me in 7th grade, they started calling this girl Paula BJ, and I didn't know what that meant, but everyone thought it was so funny, and they would like, say it to her face, and, I think about her now, I'm like, because when you're a kid, you just wanna be accepted, and
Yeah,
how harmful is that? It's hard to be a teenager.
yeah,
It's really hard to be a teenage girl, y'all.
yeah. We're gonna have to really work on this with my little one.
Yeah.
It's gonna take a village. Saying
We're gonna need tools.
we're gonna need tools. We're gonna need to anticipate, not over anticipate. I don't know which side she's gonna be on.
Let's be glad that Girls Gone Wild isn't a thing that happens anymore.
Thank God. Oh my God.
Well, actually, everyone is now doing Girls Gone Wild. Back then, 30 years ago, it was like a guy with a professional camera. Now everyone has a camera on them all the time. Ugh. Did you watch that Girls Gone Wild documentary on Hulu, I think? Or maybe it was Peacock? Wildly upsetting because you remember Girls Gone Wild.
Yeah.
What I was really interested in and what made me not like the series really very much was I really wanted to I wanted the story completely to be framed around these girls now, 30 years later. What was their experience then? How has this changed them? How's this followed them around? What is their memory of it? And they do talk about it, but it's too much about Joe Francis. Fuck that guy. Women have been exploited like this for millennia. Workers have been exploited like this for millennia. And these poor women, they just lift their shirt, woo, they're drunk, they're underage, they're on a beach having fun with their friends, and this shit follows them 30 years later. Can you imagine?
Mm.
No one knew what the internet was back then. If they were told this is going to be around forever for the rest of your life all over the world, ha ha ha, no way.
No regrets, right? Regrets.
Let's talk about having a savior complex.
Mm.
Have you ever had that?
Maybe. I mean, my first girlfriend did have a lot of mental health issues.
Well, I was gonna say, we both had the same first girlfriend, and that was Jesus Christ.
I never dated Jesus Christ.
Well, in a way you did though, because the indoctrination is deep in you, like he has been,
Yeah. Yeah,
and
maybe you're right. Yeah.
that's where the
And
term comes from. That was modeled to us, this idea that, like, everyone can be saved and put yourself aside, die to
yeah.
self,
Yeah.
go out into the world and preach the gospel. So as Christians, we're institutionalized, socialized to have a savior complex. I mean, how many of you escaped the church without one? That's what I want to know. I have it for days.
Yeah.
For days.
Yeah.
By the way, did you see that recipe I sent y'all that uses, the Eucharist?
Oh, yeah, I loved it. I like them plain, I mean, honestly,
Can we, like,
with just, like, a little bit of wine,
Je
but
Jesus body nachos?
no, I really like it just as it is with just a sip of wine.
It's like Jesus was meant to be.
Yeah, just a little bit of blood. Just a little bite, just a little blood. Good to go.
We're just one cancel moment to the next. That's this I am trying to get people to come for me.
Is that bad? I don't know.
So she talks about how we need connections, and everyone knows this. There's tons of information about, like, attachment theory.
Mhm.
Just like we talked about last week, or was it 2 weeks ago? That idea that, like, if you haven't had attention, negative attention is desirable all of a sudden. The same idea applies here. If you have had very meager connections or you feel like people have used you or abused you, your desire for connection is so strong that you'll take even the worst ones. You're vulnerable to, as she puts it, narcissistic assholes coming for you, love bombing you, and then, like,
Mhm.
kind of trapping you.
I really like her, comparison to steak, the whole breadcrumb steak thing, that if you're not hungry, it's like steak, whatever, but if you're starving, the breadcrumbs, right? You'll take them. And then the love bombing is a buffet. I was just like, "Ooh, making me hungry."
For connection. What did you think about what she said that when you're in an abusive situation, you'd rather have a punch in the face than, like, a verbal dress down or a verbal assault or a verbal rundown of about all of your inadequacies. You think that's true?
You know, if you have to choose, you're in a bad way anyway, I think, but I guess you could say it's true, right? Because it does come back. It comes back, the words come back and you think it and you start to judge yourself and it's like all the things, but good punch in the face does it also, I think, traumatizes you, doesn't it?
Yeah,
I would think so.
yeah.
I don't like that either.
But things that you hear maybe that are negative about yourself that you were already secretly feeling about yourself, and now it's kind of reinforced to you that
Yeah,
that's true even when it's not, that can yeah, that's gonna damage you a lot longer
yeah,
than
right.
a punch in the face.
That'll heal, physically heal.
Let's talk about the house fire and, trigger warning, everybody.
She kinda runs through it. I like that how she says it.
Which is sad,
It says it, but it really was.
but it really shows
But I really did believe her. The first time she said it, I believed her, and then the second time she said it, I believed her again.
like, she really wants you to know that it
It
was
really was,
upsetting.
and I did believe her both times.
Yeah, but the real question is, if you had to choose between a puppy and your child,
I think yes, also,
puppy.
baby.
Did the cat live?
The cat?
She talks about how it was blown out of the house and its tail was on
Oh,
fire.
yeah, yeah. Of course it did. I'm sure it did.
And then it's Minnesota in the winter.
Yeah.
Dog is dead. She's got 4 boys.
God bless you.
So if you've already got a rocky marriage, guess what? That's gonna put probably the
It's not
final
gonna
nail.
help. It's not gonna help anyone.
Why is it like a badge on the like a badge of honor on the internet to be a boy mom? Hashtag boy mom. The hell is that? You're a boy mom. Give us the top 3 bad things about having 2 boys. Go.
Bad things?
Yeah.
Um,
Actually, scratch that. Let's wait till they're in puberty, and we'll come back to that
yeah,
question
I'm assuming. I'm just
in,
thinking
like,
about,
6 years.
yeah, I just think about bridesmaids.
You could crack the blanket in half. In half.
What? Yeah. Yeah.
If you're feeling down and lonely, there's only one thing you need to do. And what is it, T?
Go to Hawaii? Oh, karaoke, yeah.
Oh, yeah,
Go to Hawaii and then sing karaoke.
I totally left out the part where she moves to
Yeah.
Hawaii.
I wasn't sure which way. I was gonna say karaoke, but you totally skipped Hawaii.
If you're feeling sad and lonely, there's a place I can turn to. That is a very different room. Boom, boom, boom. That's from something. I don't know what it is. Do you know?
I don't recognize that.
Karaoke, y'all.
Was that a melody of sorts, or was that
And
noises?
and I love Naj. And you all know if you go to karaoke on a regular, y'all know this bitch that goes up there, everyone's singing, having a good time, singing like crowd pleasers. People like,
Since you've been gone.
yeah.
Yeah.
And then some bitch in her 50s goes up and has some song she's been working on. She's been working on it since the 80s. And this is her time to sing it again.
Like that?
I hate the sincere singers.
They're in like a full prom dress.
Just you can feel the like energy leave the
Are you
room.
wearing pearls? Is she
Ru-
wearing pearls?
Everyone just sits down and is like, ugh, damn, going again. Never talk to old dudes at karaoke.
Oh my God. Serious. I mean, you could talk to them. It's like wild fun, funny, fun, but you're not going to be friends with them after.
No.
That's for sure. There's this one guy that goes to, what's it called? In SF. I won't do the whole thing, but he wears a baseball cap, you know, the golf baseball cap. It says like Titleist or something. It says titties. He's like 80 and he's always there at the San Francisco karaoke place. He's always there by himself and he is the one that sings
Mm.
and he's always there. And then he like sings with
The one in
you.
Chinatown?
It's on Lombard.
Mm.
Silver Cloud.
Wow.
And it says titties. And I was like, oh my God, so drunk. I'm like, oh my God, it says titties. And then he's like, let's hang out. And we're all hanging, we're high-fiving. I'm like, I'm not going to be his friend after this. But whenever I go there, he's there. And they're like, oh my God. I forget his name, Gary or something.
But what if Gary with the titties hat said to you, T, in your like lonely state where you want to be famous because you love singing, but he said to you, we actually need a singer for our band.
1,000%.
That's how they get you.
Yeah.
Lobster dinner.
I know it. I do love lobster. Again, this is probably not what it was like, right? He probably looked a little bit more. He didn't have a titties hat on. This guy is crazy. That guy was crazy.
It's probably something similar. Titties guy at least like wears his titties on his sleeve, like or his desire to see tits on his sleeves or his head. This old guy in Hawaii, he's trying to hide. Oh, I'm a dad. I'm a grandpa. Want to be in our band? Have some lobster. He's like gross. Like he's like a wolf in sheep's clothing.
Yeah.
Let me ask you this: is it possible to groom a 40-year-old person? Because I think we think of grooming usually in situations like young
No, I think so.
girls, kids.
I would think so.
Yeah, I think grooming
Yeah.
can happen at any age.
Yeah, for sure.
I mean, he definitely sees her star a mile off, and he goes for it hard. And at first, lovely. It's sort of this surrogate person
Yeah,
and
father figure.
connection for boar hunting, wicked
Seems
fun,
fun. Get a hike in.
hiking, bikes for the kids. No one likes Naj's husband, so,
He's on that bandwagon
he
quick.
seems a little bit, better for her. She also talks about, like, him saying that he has cancer, and he makes this uncouth remark to her that he's afraid he's never gonna have sex again, which in the moment could be a real moment of, like, sharing and vulnerability, but I think he was just saying that to gauge what her reaction would be. But it's like, that's how you start grooming, is you start being a little bit inappropriate, and you're seeing what you can get away with.
I would have liked to be a fly on the wall with that interaction exactly.
Yeah.
Just to see what both of their faces and mannerisms were like for that exact moment.
Should we try to get into the characters and see how it feels in the moment?
Okay.
Okay, the scene is we're just, like, walking down the beach. We've known each other, let's say, 2 weeks or so.
Okay. Are you the old guy?
I'm old guy.
Okay, I thought so. It felt right. It's a beautiful day.
It's so nice. So, I had my doctor's appointment today.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
The cancer, it's still there. It's not spread, but it's there.
Oh man, I'm so sorry.
Yeah, it's hard. I'm really worried about,
Yeah.
the end, but also leaving behind my family and how they're gonna deal with it.
I know. I know. I'm sorry, oh man.
And, my body, it still feels physically healthy,
Oh, well that's a blessing.
but, like, how long until it doesn't anymore?
Uh-huh. Yeah.
Something and I don't mean to be crass, but I'm really worried that they'll never get to bone again. Mhm. Mhm. Hmm. Like, what if I've boned for the last time?
Mm, mhm. Yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
What do you think about
Yeah. No. Yeah, no.
my worry about that?
No, 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 no. Yeah. Nope. No. Yeah, no. No, 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 no. No. Oh, yeah.
And scene.
Was it like that?
Sorry, we're not trying to minimize it. It is a
But
weird
it's
conversation.
weird.
It's an uncouth I just keep thinking the word uncouth or untoward. It's just an inappropriate fucking conversation.
Like, that interaction, I would like, out of all the instances that she talks about, that's the one I was like, "What is that like?" You
Yeah.
know?
She starts taking a lot of benzos.
Yeah. I'm not familiar with benzos, are you?
I looked it up.
Research alert.
They're depressants that produce sedation and hypnosis, relieve anxiety and muscle spasms, and reduce seizures. I assume it says it's like a Valium or Xanax. So it's just like a relaxing, like
Ugh,
a numbing out.
I do like a Valium.
No, it makes me too. I want to be sharp. I don't want to be like, bleh.
Yeah, sometimes it's nice, though.
Yeah, but you can't socialize when you're bleh. You have to be like at home.
A little, like, it's just a couple people just hanging out, you know?
But anyway, she's taking a lot of these pills. That pill increases the pill popping does keep increasing. And then let's get to the night in question when he kind of reveals his true colors to her. It sounds like she was roofied. She says she has one drink and then she wakes up in her underwear on his couch. He claims that she begged him to have sex, that she talked about how she wanted to leave her husband. She tells her nanny about this. The nanny okay, "Hey, nanny,
Who's this nanny?
I think I was drugged and raped," and her response is, "You should go for him."
He's so much better than her husband.
It's kinda fucked up.
I know, who is this
It's
nanny?
like either the nanny is kinda tone deaf or it wasn't presented to her in the right way, or the husband really, really, really sucks. And then, case in point, he doesn't believe her. Now imagine what that feels like. What does that do to you? The 2 important people in your life, one is saying, "Yeah, go for it," and the other one is saying, "I don't believe you," and you have been assaulted. What is that? That gotta be a fuck up and that's, like, fucked up.
Yeah.
And it starts to increase her pill use, and this is where she is, like she's just medicating all the time. She loses her job, she can't pay her rent. Her husband, who didn't believe her, has taken the sons back to the mainland. Is this shocking that she stays with this guy after this night?
It does seem shocking to me. Again, these stories, they're so quick. You know, I'm feeling like she's desperate, right? She doesn't have a place to stay. She doesn't have any money. Her family's not there,
And I think
you know?
her all of her shit is not firing because she's hopped up on
Yeah.
pills, and she's got a hysterectomy planned. Yay, hysterectomy.
Yeah.
But if you think about, there's this moment where she could escape, but she decides to go back, and she says it's because of the hysterectomy and because she's left important things at his house.
Mhm.
At this point, and let's be clear here, sometimes it is really difficult to get procedures on the calendar that you desperately need, like medical procedures that you desperately need. So I don't wanna poo-poo this need to go back for the hysterectomy, I understand that. And I think she would agree, this is the moment where she could have escaped, but she went back to him. If not for the hysterectomy, I think she would have abandoned the things.
Maybe she also didn't think she'd be taken hostage at
Right,
that point.
right. But now he knows that her intention is to leave because what does she say when she first sees him? "I'm going to go back to the mainland." And what's his response?
"Oh, no, sir. I don't think so. That's not happening."
And this is really where her captivity
Yeah,
begins.
yeah. Because if she actually thought that, she probably wouldn't have said that.
Mhm. He thinks that he's a porn advisor.
What's going on that all of a sudden he totally changed his personality completely?
Well, he's got her
I was
now.
better, yeah.
Let's bust out the porn. Let's bust out the porn contest.
I mean, it's a porn contest.
They're gonna fake a kidnapping and rape a girl that she knows
Yeah,
about, like, fuck.
that's
It's
that's
like she doesn't
good.
say no, but still, like, Naja's being subject to whatever his whims are, including how disgusting was thinking of that image of her in that clawfoot tub being scrubbed head to toe
I
with a bar of
know.
soap.
I know. That was
It's so, like, Silence of the Lambs. It puts the lotion in the basket. She talks about how she had a newish stage or a newish kind of fight, flight, freeze. Fawn is a newer addition to that list.
research alert.
Fight, flight, freeze, and fawn refers to the four primary ways humans tend to respond to perceived threats or stressful situations, including fighting against the threat, fleeing from it, freezing in place, or fawning by trying to please the perceived threat to avoid conflict. Friend is sometimes added as an alternative term to fawn, highlighting the appeasement aspect of the response.
Mhm.
So why is she lying to outsiders, telling them everything's okay?
Fear? I mean, he's watching her.
But she's also lying to herself, and she'll say that too, that she was lying to herself about what she was really going through. She's coping and trapped and a licensed therapist. I think this is what
Yeah.
she can't
But
rectify
she
in her
admitted
brain.
yeah. If she admits there's something wrong there.
She's failed
Yeah.
herself, her entire career, like, everything's on the line for her if she admits that this is happening. So she talks about, it's almost disassociation, and the drugs help, obviously. She's embarrassed,
Mhm.
point blank period. How many times do we keep ourselves in situations just because of shame, because we're embarrassed to tell somebody? Because our friends, our family would never judge us, but we judge ourselves so badly that we just wanna put on a facade. And she was suffering, and her sister came to visit, and she could not. She said, "Everything's going great."
This is the best.
The old man called her his little Indian princess and squaw. Disgusting. This is part and parcel for an abuser. She finds this shoebox of pictures of women. Who knows what the fuck he was doing? Like, what the fuck? Did he just drug women and rape them?
That's what it
Did he have
seems
graves
like.
in his backyard? This guy's got something evil happening.
Yeah.
I think this is the worst part to me of her story. She finally has a hysterectomy. Y'all know what
Oh,
that is. That's like removing all your shit,
yeah.
all your women's reproductive shit. I mean, I don't know how the procedure works, but in my experience, anytime anything happens in that area, unless it's meant to be pleasurable, it's usually painful. And even then, there's a fine line. Can you imagine having a full hysterectomy, going home to recover, and being assaulted? I can't fathom it. I can't wrap my mind around it. It makes me ill to think about it. And I think it was especially crushing because she held it in her pocket that she'd made it to the end. Okay, I've got my hysterectomy, and now he can't touch me for a few weeks because of my recovery.
No.
And he didn't even honor that. So she's also devastated by this expectation that she had. And I understand a suicide attempt at
Mhm.
that point. She feels trapped. He's got no love for her, actually. None. No mercy, no kindness. She's at the end. She doesn't know, she can't perceive an end for her except to take a handful of pills, and that's what she does. And at the hospital, Somehow they didn't investigate this. They just investigated
Seizure. Must have been a random seizure.
was clearly a cry for help. She goes back and she decides, okay, how I couldn't escape it through death. How will I escape? And she decides from here on out, I'm going to play along, make him feel like he can trust me and I really love him and want to be with him. I'm going to wait for my chance to go home.
I wonder how long this was.
I mean, I know she was totally there for like 4 months. And she does escape. He believes her. She's able to leave. He says, "You better come back," and she doesn't, and this is her escape, and good for her. But then, you get home, and what do you do from there? Because now, you're home. You can't celebrate that you've escaped. You can't talk to anyone about what you've been through. Everyone is questioning you, but you're in deep trauma. You're in deep denial about it. She doesn't report him for 2 reasons. 1, she's embarrassed. 2, and this isn't in the episode, but I know this because she said this to me. If she talks about it, it makes it true that it happened. And she's not ready to accept that this actually happened to her. As soon as she says it aloud, it makes it real. So she doesn't say it. She just buries it fucking deep, man. Her husband wants to understand. Of course, that relationship is donezo. She can't talk to her kids about it. We don't talk about what happened in Hawaii. The fuck? And because of all this buried trauma, she loses empathy, which I've never heard of this before. Had you?
I hadn't, but it was starting to make sense as she was explaining it.
Yeah. Research.
Research alert.
According to research, experiencing significant buried trauma can lead to a decreased capacity for empathy, because the individual may develop defense mechanisms like emotional numbing that prevent them from fully connecting with the emotions of others. This is particularly true when the trauma involves early childhood experiences or repeated abuse. Fuck. So you're just numb to everything, and that includes empathy. And guess what? She's a talk therapist, so she has to, like, present therapy on a daily basis, and she can't do I mean, what a scary fucking thing to acknowledge in yourself. Her kids keep her alive, her boss says she's not okay, she has to go to a treatment program. I thought it was interesting that she was in this sort of group in this group facility, and one of her patients was there, and it seemed to give her joy, it didn't make her feel more embarrassed. What'd you think about that?
I like that too. You skipped one thing though, and I just wanted
Oh,
to
yeah.
say the guy died.
Oh, yeah, the guy's
Good
dead.
riddance.
Yeah. Yeah, good riddance.
Also, his daughter reached out, and I'm assuming the daughter had no idea that he'd been an evil, evil man.
Oh, yeah.
Is that what's happening? Okay.
I assume that, yeah.
Is she writing a book?
Yeah.
I just wonder if the daughter's gonna know.
She's
then
semi-anonymous, like,
Okay.
she's using her, Native American name rather than her colonial name white name? I don't know what you call it. I thought the broken bone analogy was interesting.
Yeah.
I suppose I've heard that before, but yeah, it's too bad we don't have broken brain bones hanging out of our heads showing how damaged we are.
It is
Just
too
like a
It's like, oh,
like a saggy plot
yeah.
of skin. We're like,
Oh,
"Oh, I gotta push that.
she's hurting
Ellie, no, your saggy
in
plot
her
of
brain.
skin is out."
She's hurting in her brain.
We all have feelings of wanting to football chuck a baby out a window, right?
I guess. I mean,
Yeah.
yeah, that was good. Truth. I mean, yeah. You can't keep that stuff in. You gotta be talking about it.
Well, I mean, it's so true. Well, so many people suffer in silence when there is common suffering happening all the time, especially with mothers.
Yeah.
Highly recommend Night Beast. You didn't enjoy it. Night Bitch. You didn't enjoy it. Gwen did.
I did enjoy it.
Gwen said you didn't like it.
What do you mean?
Oh, never mind.
I did. No, I did like Night Bitch. What are you talking about?
So
I liked it a lot.
there's 2 points she's making here. One, there's freedom in accepting all of your feelings. And second, there is comfort in our common struggle. I think we're embarrassed often about the way we fall short for ourselves. So maybe when we're suffering and we see it or we perceive it as something that we caused ourselves or allowed to happen to ourselves, we do feel that shame. But everyone is feeling that about something in their life. Like no one is doing it perfectly. So, tell your people what you're going through. I bet they're going through it too. I will keep all of mine inside until the day I die, but other people
Me
should talk.
too. Yeah. Good.
And now her brain is back. She's a better therapist than ever. And she says the worst thing to overcome, and I do think the thing that disconnects or that keeps us disconnected and fighting against each other is shame. And yay, Brene Brown.
Totes.
T, do you have anything else that I skipped over that you wanted to talk about?
I liked a couple of her points. Like we do go for an annual physical, right? Why don't we go for an annual mental? I like that idea. Although I don't go for an annual physical.
And you'll what now?
Annual who? That was the only thing that I thought was that was a good idea. That I should probably go to an annual physical.
Yeah. Years go by so quick.
Oh my God, so fast. I did email my doctor about my blood pressure though.
Oh, braggy. Thank you for listening. This has been an episode of Trauma Bonded. You can find our show where podcasts are kept. Please rate and review us. Thanks to Naz for sharing their story and giving us the opportunity to talk about it. And thanks to This Is Actually Happening team, including Whit, Missildine, and Andrew Waits, and the maker of our music and website, Nathaniel Chimboli. And thanks to Cathy Sites for editing this episode, and to Katy Caple for building those blasted Instagram posts. I do want to send your eyes to our Instagram page. I did post pictures of my new kitties.
Did?
Mm-hmm. Someone yelled at me in the comments, so I made sure to deliver. Aye, aye, Cap'n. Yep.
Yeah, really?
Yeah.
Oh gosh.
Also, sidebar, we might be getting off Instagram just because we're going to draw a line in the sand about some things, and we might be exclusively just on Blue Sky. But we're going to talk about
Okay, great.
She's stunned at the moment.
That sounds good. No, yeah, that's fine.
I can't Zuckerberg, man.
Okay, yeah, that's good.
Please subscribe to us on YouTube. You can contact us at our Gmail. All this information is in the show notes. We are trauma bonded to the story, to the storyteller, to the listeners, and to each other. Thanks for spending time with us today. Love you, T.
Love you, Elly.